Of course, I can never forget the Tonberry on the scooter board, but I did not remember all of the costumes. And you've been slacking on those. Did you make all of them? Is that why you
I
stopped?
did. You're talking about Tonberry cosplay, right?
Yes.
You're talking about like when
I was like, did you make every single class?
No, I didn't. Okay, because I don't play 14, so I just did like really nerdy. I'll send them all to you later. I did like nerd cloaks. Like I think the Beauty and the Beast cloak made it in there from the movie. I think Jace the Mind Sculptor from Magic the Gathering made it in there. Like I think I also had like. Okay, so yeah, I did do a black. There's a black mage. There was a white mage. There is not a red mage because that was just way too complicated. I did the Full Metal Alchemist, like Edward Elric's cloak, and I did, but it was all like nerd. For a while, I was running a whole series. Has he
cosplayed more than you? Probably, right?
Yes, he has. He has like I think 24, maybe 30 costumes.
Oh my god!
And it was just like, and I also I love this. I love this so much. I found Burberry knockoff like pattern like fabric, like because I wasn't paying like whatever $2,000 for a raincoat or whatever.
No,
and I made him a Burberry cloak,
a Burberry trench coat.
Yes, I did, or just like his regular like little like thing, this thing, because I have a pattern. I made a pattern for this thing, and so yeah, so he has a Burberry pattern because he's a Tonberry, so it has to be Burberry. Like, I wish I had it. Like I have a whole shoebox of it, and it's like in my closet somewhere.
This is insane. If you're just tuning in, because we're starting the episode like this is going to be a Cosplay Crunch first. If you're just tuning in, you did not start midway through the episode. You have started to the pre-intro for the first time because we could not contain ourselves for diving in about Tonberry cosplay. But I'm actually going to read the intro, introduce you, and then we can actually get into it. Oh my god. Mess. Okay. In the best way. All right. Hi everyone, welcome to the Cosplay Crunch. Each week we gather to talk all things cosplay and conventions, from personal experiences, useful tips and advice, horror stories and hot takes, and sometimes the latest news and drama. We have it all. I am your host, Zavage Cosplay, and this episode we are joined by the cosplay mother, or the mother of cosplay. I don't even know. Pianist to the gods, and cosplay Tonberry cosplay lover. One of those combinations will work. Please welcome PurpleSchala, aka Cinnabunny AKA Ruby. Welcome.
Thanks, Zach. Thanks for inviting me. It's so fun. It's so like Zach. Everything that he just said about me is like him like 100 times over. You're like more epic than I ever could possibly be. No, I see your latest build, and I'm just like.
You've always undersold your cosplay craftsmanship when it looks so good.
Oh, okay, girl, you have not seen the underside. You don't want to see me flip my hands. Have I not shown you my duct tape? Glue. The situation underneath is not.
You know what? What you have going on under there is no one's goddamn business but yourself.
Okay, but I'm just saying, because you compete, and they look for that.
Yeah, we do.
So that's what there's a reason I don't compete, because I'm like, okay, let's see what's underneath all that. You don't want to see that.
Oh my god.
So yeah, so that's why, like when you know when it's good.
I get it, but no, the outsides are beautiful, and that's all that matters, really. Superficiality is all that matters. No, thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited. Like I mentioned to you before we started, you have so much going on in your, I don't even want to call it cosplay like experience, but like your like nerddom experience that there's too much to even try to parse together into a format that even makes sense. So we're gonna try our best, and we're gonna start with how we start a lot of these episodes, your cosplay beginnings. So how did you first get into cosplay?
Oh, Lord.
And where?
Okay, so all right, I'm just trying to get the year correct because I think it's 2012. I want to say 2012. It could be 2011. And it was OniCon in Galveston, Texas, and that was and a friend of mine who had never like we never cosplayed, but it was something that we'd always kind of wanted to do. We're like, oh, let's just do it. And she's like, she was so and then what did we know? We decided because back then, like in 2012, there weren't a lot of good cos. I mean, the only wig place was like Cosworks, like the Punky XL, so like or Party Safer, and like so we just had to make it. So I was like, this is around the time when Final Fantasy X2 was really popular, and then Riku is like, I swear, everyone's like beginning cosplay because there's so little clothing involved. So little sewing, just a bikini top and a short skirt, and the wig was the nightmare. The wig was the worst. So, but I was like, I'm gonna be Riku, and then she's like, okay, I'll be Yuna. Okay, she had no idea. She's never played Final Fantasy in her life. She was just wanting to go along with it, and, which is
Right.
great. So she commissioned it from someone who did a fairly good job, because I mean back then like commissioners were sort of few and far between. They didn't you can't just, it's not like now that you can throw a rock and hit a commissioner
Or just
like,
go online and look up Yuna
yeah.
cosplay and then get one from China that looks pretty damn
Exactly.
good.
Exactly. I mean, it's insane. Like, but back then, we had a commission to make it ourselves. So yeah. So we went to Onicon, and then like a friend of mine, a friend that had never been, like I'll always remember him telling me this before we went. He was like, "Oh, you're gonna love it," because he's like, when you go there, everyone treats you like a celebrity. Everyone is all like, "Oh, hey, can I get a picture with you? Can I get a picture with you?" And I have to say, like, he was totally, he was right. I mean, it's like, it's like so great to just go, you go to a con, and then just that high of like presenting like something that you've made yourself, and then have people that know the game are like, oh my gosh, and then they want pictures of you, and then everyone just stops you for pictures, and
Just
it is,
obsessed.
yes, it's such
Yeah.
it is like the dopamine is like through the roof. So.
So wait, you knew what cosplay was in 2012. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like you stumbled into this like some people do.
Yeah, no,
So how did you
because
know like what even cosplay was?
oh, okay, because there was a crafter online called Adela Cosplay, and this is ancient history. Okay, the funny thing is, fun fact. Okay, so she was like the first like kind of celebrity cosplayer. Like she did it for fun, but her stuff and she like loved Aerith, so she did every single version of Aerith from Final Fantasy VII and Kingdom Hearts, whatever, even like Final Fantasy Tactics. She did like, and she was a great Aerith. I mean, everything was really, really good at a time when cosplays didn't look very good. Like I'm sorry, it's true. Like people were just going in with like really cheap satin, the cheap cotton, like like foam armor, like made of 2mm craft foam, and but and like. But her makeup, her wig, her photos were just amazingly good. And here's a fun fact, because you like Matt Mercer, like as the voice actor Matt Mercer, was in a lot of her pictures cosplaying with her. So that's whenever I see Matt Mercer now, like I remember you. you were cosplaying with Adela.
Like, how did you find her? Like, was it just online, or like did you know her in person?
Oh no, it was just online, because she was I don't remember what nerd space I was in, but because this is like 2012 was around the time that I was also active in like the music scene, the video game music scene. So there's a lot of crossover, like when you like like I was on forums like the Gaming Force forum, gamingforce.com, and like people would just kind of share like, hey, this is a good Aerith. Like I'm like, oh yeah, wow. Like how did she do that? Did she make that herself? Like, like how, like this is, it's like she stepped out of the game. Like I wonder if her pictures are still around. Like I would love to just see, like, I'm sure they're still as amazing as I remember they were.
Adela cosplay, like Adele,
Adela,
like Adela.
Adela with 2 L's. So
Okay.
yeah, Adela. I'm sure that wasn't her real name, but like I don't remember what she went by. But it was like
Right.
she was like legendary. And this is around the time like Yaya Han was also like kind of up and coming on the scene. She was also a name that I had remembered like seeing back then. Like she also had like a small little website, and she had her bridal Yuna from Final Fantasy X, and and she had like really impressive work. So there was like a small little cadre of like very good craftspeople like out there, like really do. And I wonder if Yaya knows. I'm sure she would know like Adela. Like,
Adela. I'm gonna
Adela.
ask.
You should
We'll
ask
find
her.
out.
I'm sure she would probably be like, oh my gosh, yeah. So, but yeah, she was another name that I saw like back then, like kind of within that, because once because they would link to each other, their web rings. Yeah, whatever that was, like GeoCities. It was
Oh my
the best.
gosh. Wait, so okay, obviously you were in these like video game music spaces. That's how you were exposed to the idea of cosplay. But taking it back even a further step, musically, how did you get into music? Because for those who don't know, Ruby is a I don't even know. Okay, so I'll just claim this. This whole episode, I'm gonna be referring to music things. I have no idea the technical term for any of it.
That's
I
okay.
don't
Totally
know any of it. So I would just say like she is a damn good pianist. How did you become a damn good pianist? And like when did you start doing this? Like how did you get into music?
Oh gosh. Okay, I would disagree with the whole being like a good pianist thing, but that's just kind of like how we are about that kind of thing. So, anyways, yeah, I started playing piano when I was like 7 or 8, which is like we're talking like that's many decades ago.
Like hot cross buns
Yeah,
and
yeah, totally, all that like minuet and G, chopsticks, like heart and soul stuff like that, and then I like then in undergrad I majored in music, but then in grad school I went to like conservatory, and so I ended up getting a master's in piano performance, and so and this obviously this does not qualify me as like a great pianist, by the way. It was just like like getting good at anything, you just do it over and over again and over and over and over again for like 30-40 years. And that's how it happens, or that's how you get. For me, I think I'm just like I'm decent, I'm competent like at some things, but not as good as I wish I could be.
well,
So
honey, I
story of
have
my
proof we're gonna play in a little bit, but we'll
life.
get to that.
Oh,
We'll
no.
get to that. So growing up, were you exposed to like Japanese media or video games, or how
Oh
did
my
you eventually
gosh.
converge from like your piano training and your like your musicality into video games? How did those
Oh
meet?
my gosh. Okay. So video games have been my identity like for my entire life. Like when my dad bought my brother and me and my little sister like an NES like back in 1986 and or 87 it was one of those years. Anyways, I'm dating myself. And then we were obsessed. I mean, like the first thing I learned to play was like Super Mario Brothers theme. Like, that was on like my little like Casio, like tiny little keyboard, like the underground thing, like it was like, oh my gosh. And then there's that same like dopamine rush, and you're like, it sounds like the game. To be able to do that, and that just started my whole love for like it, because then we played a ton of games. Like this is how I got into Castlevania, Mega Man, like, and just tons. And then we would play it, and then if I heard a theme I liked, I would try to play it on the piano.
Oh,
And
that's
then
so
my brother'd be all
cool.
impressed. So yeah,
Wait,
that.
so from the beginning, you were from when you were a kid, you grew up with video games, you grew up learning to play the piano, and those two things kind of went
Oh
sidestep
yeah.
together
Oh yeah.
forever.
Forever and ever. So that's how it all, like, that's like my identity as a gamer is like so inextricably tied to my identity as a musician. It's almost like you can't separate it. Like, and it's to the point where like my YouTube channel now has become like half me playing, but half me just abusing the community posts to talk about my favorite games. And I don't even know how everyone is reading all like me like 10-20 paragraphs worth of things.
Well, you
That's
always had you always had a lot to say when it came to these
oh
games,
my gosh, I
especially
know.
the IP that you cared about, like Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy, Xenoblade, all of
Yeah.
these. When I think of these games, I think of Association, PurpleSchala, Ruby, because I remember there was one. I think it maybe the first one you ever went off on. I
Oh
think
shoot.
was Fates. The first one I saw you go off on, I think, was Fates.
Oh
Fire
my
Emblem Fates.
gosh.
Because we all know how that game went. And if you
Okay,
don't know how that game went,
can I just
go.
say
Go.
I know that game sucks and I love it. I love it so much. I love it like my own child. I will I will I mean, I have no business. I cannot defend it in any way. Like anyone that will like all criticisms, all hate, I completely justify. I'm like, yeah, I know. I know. I know. I know. But I love it.
I think it's because, okay, here's the reason. I think because of a few things. One, we were coming off the high of Awakening, which was a very
Yeah.
good game.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
And we were very
Awakening.
excited for Fates. Second, the character designs were really
Oh,
good.
that those Kozaki designs. Oh, I miss him.
So
They were
good.
so. Oh, he nailed it. He nailed like both the Nor and the Hishido side. Like there was a peak Fire Emblem designs. To this day, I'm still like, oh, that was so good.
So good.
I
So
love it.
good.
Obsessed with the Hishido. I eat that up. Like I'm so
Yeah.
obsessed. Like
No,
yeah.
so good. Designs are great. And I think that another part of it was, see, I don't remember, you could probably tell me otherwise. I don't remember the music very much from Fates. Not unlike Three
Mhm.
Houses, where I remember the music
Mhm.
from Three Houses, like it
Oh
has a
yeah.
chokehold on me and it will never
Oh
let me
yeah. No,
go.
it's so good. The Three Houses soundtrack
Did
is
Fates
so
have
good.
much music that was like
Oh my
iconic?
gosh.
Did it?
All
I don't
right.
remember.
I was very I'm very obsessed with Fates in every single way possible. So like the character designs, the visuals, the music. The music was great. Like especially like the Hoshido side had like really it had very Asian sounding like the minor pentatonic scales and so in order to but then I love how the North side more like Celtic sort of like 6/8 time,
Oh,
so
yeah.
because to reflect that, so there was a so yeah and there were so many bangers on that soundtrack. Oh my gosh, like Justice IRP, and there is like Pass Below, then of course like, and it's got my favorite final map, like like I'm sorry, okay, I love God Shattering Star, I love Apex of the World,
Oh, just
I
kidding. Just kidding. I remember that now. I remember
yeah,
that
yeah,
now.
End of All from Fates. Oh, is the
Okay,
best. It's
so
like
you started saying the names of these
okay.
tracks, and then my memory started like to
Okay,
scan.
yeah. Like I'm sure if you listen to the soundtrack, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, this was epic. This was so epic." I mean, but like even from Awakening started with like just really good music. Like ID Purpose is also a fantastic map theme, like our fantastic final map theme, and
Mm-hmm.
and then like there was a Destiny, like Destiny Ablaze. Like there's so much. Like my Fates, like Awakening was like my personal awakening for many things Fire Emblem, because like that was when I was making the cause. I made Emerin, then I also started to just like transcribe the music and arrange the music as well, and that just then it became like a slippery slope because it's like, why do they have to be so good all the time? So yeah, then Fates comes out with another banger set of characters to cosplay, another banger soundtrack, and then Three House. Well, the Echoes actually had a great soundtrack, but man, the characters, I'm
Oh,
sorry,
yeah,
I'm
I never
sorry
did
for
that.
everyone. I could not get behind the Echoes characters. I was like, what are these weird things? Like
No.
it would look fine, and then it'd have these elements that would just not make sense to me. It's like, okay, the top looks fine, but then what's going on with the bottom? Like, and then yeah,
And not
so
even from a
then
perspective of like what logically makes sense, because we know Fire Emblem is infamous for creating costume designs that make no
yes,
sense in terms of like how do things attach, things are floating,
oh
like
gosh,
fabric doesn't make
yes.
sense, seams don't exist.
Uh,
But there's a difference between like a really pretty design that doesn't make any logical sense to like a busted design that also doesn't make sense. Which I will
yes,
call out
yes.
Fire. I feel like every other Fire Emblem game recently has had busted. Like I feel like we get like a good game and then we get like a flop game. Is my opinion. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if you're calling Fates as the flop game, I totally agree with you. We had Awakening, then we had Fates, then Echoes. Did you like Echoes?
No, further flop, further
Okay,
down.
okay, so,
That went
so we
down
had
the hole more.
two flops. Then we had Three Houses. Then we had
Yeah.
Engage. Okay, got
Oh,
it.
yeah, no.
Okay.
God help. God save the queen with that toothpaste hair. I can't.
That
No,
was one
so
of
hey.
the yeah. Okay, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Was it going? I want to talk more about these video game reviews and your thoughts on them, because I also want to get your. Okay, I haven't asked you this. Look, y'all listening, this is entirely self-serving because this is just me catching up with Ruby after not talking to her for so long. So
Yes.
forgive the
Yes.
giant
Sorry.
like diversions and like branching thoughts. Um, Final Fantasy 16. Tell me your thoughts on that. I want to know. And I think
I feel like it's not safe to talk about that game in public
no, you
still.
should. You should talk about it. Oh my god. I have so many thoughts. Like I have so many thoughts and opinions, and here's the problem. Okay, so I went into this game with really high hopes, right? And because I think for me, I hadn't really ever played a mainline Final Fantasy game that was like, how do I explain this? I play Final Fantasy 14 a lot, you know this, and I
Yes.
really enjoy it, but it's like an online game and it's not the same as like these individual like games that are released as like headliner games. And I played like Final Fantasy, what was it, 13? That was
Oh,
in
okay.
Lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played those. But other than that, I hadn't really played any of them because I never had a PlayStation really.
Oh, you
So
didn't play 7? Or you didn't?
mm-mm.
Oh.
Andrew started playing Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's what came out
Ah,
recently,
okay.
right?
Oh, Rebirth came out. The
Rebirth.
second, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Okay,
So
so
I haven't played this. So 16 was my first like independent like
oh,
siloed game, and like there were a
okay,
bunch of
okay,
like
okay.
icons that like I knew. I was like, oh my god, I know what an Ifrit is. I know what a Titan is. Like all those
Right,
things, right?
right, right.
And I know those are pervasive through like a lot of the games. It's not unique to like 16 or 14, but I
Mhm,
had like I knew what was going on kind of, and
mhm.
also the main character so hot. Clive was so hot.
Oh,
I
yeah.
would let him do unspeakable things to me.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I mean, I have a whole folder of screenshots of his 20-year-old self. I thought his 30-year-old self was a
oh,
little too unkempt, but his
oh,
20-year-old
no,
baby
for
was like,
me, as he got
yeah.
finer like wine. That like for me,
I
like,
mean, he was still good. He was still good. No, yeah, no,
and
I
oh my god, you can best believe I learned how to use the screenshot function. Oh wait, no, I didn't. So I was playing on the PlayStation, and all those scenes where he was like naked and chained up, I was taking out. He was ass up naked on the floor of a cell, and I was like, I took out my iPhone and I was like holding it up to the TV and taking pictures with my phone.
Oh my gosh, that scene was for the gays. It really was.
Oh,
Like I had every like like all my male my queer male friends were like screaming, losing their minds over that prison
barking, salivating, absolutely.
scene. Yes. So I was like, I'm happy for you guys. Like, so yeah,
No, I mean,
that
you had
was
to have something good. I mean, okay, so
yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
yeah, yeah.
that a lot of the character
Oh my
designs,
goodness.
you had to have something good from the game. I think a lot of the character designs, the costumes were good. I liked a lot of the designs.
Yeah, yeah. Jill
Um,
had a nice design,
yeah, Jill
and
Benedicta's was fucking awesome.
oh yeah, Benedicta
Um,
served.
Even though her
Yes.
character was underwritten and killed
Whew.
off, but we're not going to. It's okay.
That was
I
rough. That was rough.
Yeah.
Really rough.
And then I also really liked it was a really pretty game. Like it was
Yes, it
really
was beautiful.
cinematic
Yeah,
and really
very beautiful.
beautiful.
Hmm.
I think it kind of falls into the same thing as like Fates in a way where like the characters were really pretty and there was a lot of like visual beauty happening, and I think that some of the score was actually pretty cool, especially when you're fighting like the bosses. I kind of thought that was
Oh
cool.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah.
then like you go past that and you actually go to the plot or the character development or the relationships or anything. And it's a hot ass mess. It's such a mess. Dare I say
I
misogynistic?
thank you.
Dare
Okay,
I say?
I'm sorry. I'm like I feel like I'm gonna be attacked from all like an assassin's gonna come for me in the night if I dare say anything bad about
No,
16.
Ruby, let me start off by saying that
Just
80% of these listeners are women. Maybe even higher.
Okay. I think I ranted about this game to Carol like when we had lunch and she hadn't finished it yet. But I've had a running like Discord like comment with you remember Jennifer, right?
Yeah.
Rinkara. Okay, and her girlfriend Michelle, like
Hmm.
we have had like because we were Jen and I were playing it at the same time and like literally every day it was like, oh my gosh, what new fresh new monstrosity has been visited upon us today because of this game. And it was like oh man, I don't want to. Even now, I know I still hesitate to say what I really feel about
You
this.
hesitate. Can you try to summarize it? Can you try to
I'm
summarize it
trying
in a
to,
sentence?
because I know like a lot of people love this game, and a lot of people I love and respect love this game, and I respect their opinion completely. And I'm not gonna call them like misogynistic. I'm gonna call them sexist. I'm not gonna
No,
call
for
them
sure, for
racist.
sure.
Because like if that's not your read on it, it's totally fine because that obviously wasn't their intention. Like so, it was
But
just but everything you have said, I agree with. I like 100 times over. I like there were times when that game seriously made me very angry, like really angry. Like in term, especially like the power dynamics when it came to the romance. You know what I'm talking about. I know
Yes.
you know, and that was very, very disturbing to me. That honestly was really upsetting to me. I did feel betrayed as a Final Fantasy fan because this is not what. Like it's interesting that you said this wasn't your first one. You played 13. Okay, wait. What
Yeah.
did you think of 13? Just to put in context, because that
Um
was a female protagonist.
Yeah,
And
it was fine. I mean, so here's the thing, having no context from other games, I didn't really have anything to compare to. So I wasn't like, "Oh, the good old days of like 7
right,
and
but you
10
played
and like."
13 though. 13 is
Yeah,
was
13, I played through it and like that was the only thing I had though. So I was like, "Oh yeah, like it's pretty. It's kind of cool. There's cool characters." Like I thought it was fine and then come to find out that everyone was like, "Oh, it's the worst one." Oh, barring I think the latest one. But mm. um
but
but
I
then
do love
yeah.
13, but it did take me a while to get there. But yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, I get it. I do get it. Okay, so yeah, so I really feel like I hope I hope they learn from 16, but they probably will. I feel like there's more people that liked 16 than didn't, and that's fine. And honestly, it's good because I do want the franchise to succeed. I like that people loved like 16, even though they took it in a really different direction. When I tell people I don't like 16, in fact, like I hate 16. I utterly abhor 16. but it's not because of the combat. I like the combat. I like the Devil May Cry light combat. The combat was fun,
Yeah.
but it was for everything like the plot, the characterization. They're very disturbed. Like like themes that some narrative themes that didn't land, that were almost like, that they thought they were doing a good, like they thought they were cooking, like
They're
especially
like,
with
"Oh,
the
we really did that, sis. We ate." And it was
yeah,
like,
no, you
"Bitch,
did not.
you ate shit. This was terrible."
Yes.
Wait, okay. If you
I
haven't played
hate
the game
six.
yet and you actually don't want a spoiler, skip ahead like 3 minutes. But what pissed
Okay.
me off was how they had this like all the alien god of it all. I was like, this is so superfluous and stupid. And like, here's the thing, I get that there are ties into like characters and themes that were referenced in like other games, and I get that it didn't come out of nowhere per se. But in my opinion, as like not having the background that some other players had, I was like, why the hell did they even bother with any of this? Because they could have made it
Yes.
such an interesting game, and they could have had such an interesting
Yes.
plot just with the countries and the nations and the politicalness of it all, and like the different like families. That could have been sufficient in itself. But they're like, "Oh,
Yes.
none of that
Yes.
actually matters. There's
Yes.
a demon alien man that's coming out of the
Yes.
sky and taking you into the nether realm." And I was like, this is so stupid. Like I was like, this is so
Yes.
dumb.
Yeah, that was, yes, that was a huge, like they could have continued with the geopolitics. Like it could have been like
Yes.
Final Fantasy Tactics. It could have been like Fire Emblem Path of Radiance, like the Teleus games, which does geopolitical themes and a geopolitical story with multiple countries so well.
I was
And
so into
Tactics does
it.
it so, yes. It could have been, they could have served, and they threw, yes, you're right, they threw it all away for a shoujo anime. Like it was basically,
Yes.
it was like Xenoblade.
Yes. Well,
And-
I don't have the experience of
okay,
drawing
sorry,
from
sorry, yeah, I
Xenoblade,
was like, but
but
yeah, but it was, but in that sense though, I have to, but okay, I'll give it a pass. I do give it a pass because it is like every other Final Fantasy that came before it. So like, and it all it all comes down to like some super interdimensional being that is behind everything. It wasn't really like the guy that you hated like through 90% of the game. It was this other being that was like
that
this
comes
other
in at the last
cross.
minute. I mean,
Yes, yes,
he kind of was
yes,
there, but then wasn't.
yes,
Whatever,
yes.
girl. I don't even. We said enough on that. That's a game. I do not need to get any more time. All I have to say, all this being summed up, Ruby can write very detailed and very well put together and eloquent summaries of
I
games,
wouldn't
and she
say
can
eloquent.
I think so,
Just
more so
ramble.
than most. And I think that she can digest and break down a game and basically write a argument that in her favor for whether she likes it or hates it.
No,
And they're very compelling.
I think they're compelling in that I'm like passionate about my position, but I have to say I just they're not well written, they're not eloquent, they're just rambling. But it's like
Well, you
I
see, I have
feel
a
so
third grade reading
strongly.
level, so I think that.
You do not. You do not. You do not.
Oh my god. Okay, we have.
So funny.
Oh god, what do we even? Let me go back to the cards. What were
Sorry,
even happening?
sorry.
Okay, so we talked about your first cosplay with Riku. You made that. You pieced it together yourself.
Yes,
Wore that to OniCon with your friend who
yes.
was Yuna,
Yuna,
who
yeah.
commissioned that. What was the first cosplay that? I mean, I guess was it kind of a slow build of? I guess what made you want to do it again?
Oh, well, it okay, I mean, you know this. Any cosplayer knows this. Like, it's like when you see it come to life, when you're making it and you're seeing it come to life, you're like, this, wow. And then you put it on and you're like, oh man, this is the game. Like, there's this sense of like every piece that comes together. It's like, oh, this is exactly like this is like the game. I'm making it come to life. I like that creator, that like, you're so like you're so happy just seeing something you create just take shape,
Yeah.
and especially something of an IP you love, of an IP a game you enjoyed and lived with for like 80 hours, and then you're just like, you loved it so much, you had to this creation you had to create like something as an extension of that love and made manifest. And that's kind of like, and then when you wear it, and then I feel like the apotheosis of that is going to a con, wearing it where other nerds see it and they're like, oh my gosh, and they freak out. Or you see someone wearing the same thing and then you're like, oh, you're a fellow fan, like you meet fellow fans, and that's just the best, and they appreciate your work, and you're like, okay, I gotta chase that feeling
Right.
again. you know
No, I know,
so
I get it. And
yeah.
it's also kind of interesting because what you just described with cosplay was kind of a similar feeling you described when you started to, like, I guess, replicate video game like themes onto
Yes,
piano. Only this is
yes.
a visual medium, so you can actually like see it, and I think it translates probably in a more accessible way in a sense. Well, I guess because in the visual format people can see that and instantly know, like, oh my god, that's this character, or oh my god, like they made this. Whereas if it's a audio format, you kind of have to be a little more invested into listening through it, or be in a position where you can actually be presented with that medium. So like, for example, you can't bring a piano with you everywhere, right? You can't like
Yes,
be live
yes.
like
I mean,
you have,
like
you know, you
if I did like violin or played the trumpet or something, then
yeah,
that's like, or guitar, then then,
right. Which
but
people do
yeah.
at conventions, they bring
Oh
their own
yeah,
instruments
and
to
it's great. It's
conventions. And
it's so great. I love seeing that.
I
Like,
like it
when
too.
it's the
It's a lot
best.
better than the TikToks in the hallway.
I am like thankful I got out of cosplay and going to cons before the TikTok and the short form content era happened, because I cannot imagine how annoying that is right now. So I
It's
mean,
fine. It's fine if they're in a corner, but like it's a problem when they're blocking like fire exits and like, punching
oh,
walls and like,
oh.
yeah, then that's a mess. But no, with like the audio, because like you have YouTube and you have Spotify, and also your tracks are on Instagram, which is something that I think is so cool
Oh my gosh, I
because
know when you used it for your post, and I was
I
like,
know. I was like, oh my
oh,
god. I
that's
was like,
so.
because okay, so like basically we alluded to Fire Emblem, Three Houses. My favorite music that Ruby has done has been her renditions on piano, and sometimes with others of Fire Emblem Three Houses tracks, because
Oh
that game
yeah,
was something that I think that game hit in the perfect time
yeah. During the
because it was
pandemic,
it
yeah,
was like, yeah, it came out like in like the fall, I think, of 2019, and we were all playing it, and
yeah,
then it led into us making cosplays, and then so
yeah,
we all made cosplays, and I remember that KatsuCon right before the pandemic started, so it was like February of 2020. We all were coming out of this like, oh my god, Fire Emblem Three Houses is so good. We had the online camaraderie of loving this game. We go to the
yeah.
convention at KatsuCon, everyone's in Fire Emblem Three
Oh my
Houses.
gosh, yeah,
Like, you were doing your music of these different covers, and then the
yeah.
pandemic hit, and then that was the last time anyone saw each other. So I think that
Yes,
we all have, like, everyone that was involved with Fire Emblem and Three Houses has like a very like nostalgic feeling in their being from that game, even though it only
yeah,
came out like 5 years ago. It
yeah.
feels like it was such a core part of, I think, most of everyone that enjoyed it, because it was such like a grounding a grounding like I guess force in all of our cosplay community was that game. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Oh no, I totally know what you mean. It was like there was fandom was it wasn't just within the cosplay community, but fandom was exploding. Like in the
Yeah.
music community, people were doing Three Houses covers left, right, and center. Just we were screaming at each other about the music, the themes, like just literally obsessed. The same way we would scream at each other about like, oh my gosh, I want to cosplay this character. I want to cosplay. I love this character. I want to cosplay this. Or it was like the same thing in the video game community, the video game music community, and then the same thing in the art community. Like I was talking to an artist friend that was like, there was never been she's like, there's never been a time like since Three Houses, like it was exploding in creativity from the fandom, like in every way. She's like, new art was coming out like multiple times a day, like on Twitter. Like it was, and I mean, and it was great. We were being constantly fed. Like we see like new art, new music, new covers, like people like cosplay progress. Like it was awesome. Just
I know.
it was, and I gotta say there was like. I have to agree with her. There hasn't been like it feels like there hasn't been a time since, but I mean I don't say that like to be a boomer or whatever. It's just because I think
No, yeah.
games are coming out so fast now that it's really hard to get really invested for as long as we did with Fire Emblem with Three Houses, just because it was a pandemic and they're just like everything had ground to a halt. So games were like coming out a lot slower. So it was just like Animal Crossing and Three Houses were like so dominant during that time. And so I mean, yeah. So I
No,
feel like there
yeah.
hasn't been a time like yet. I haven't said there will never be a time like it, but they're not since, like not yet. They're
Yeah, the only thing I can think
Baldur's Gate
of that's
maybe.
like maybe the only thing I can think of, like people like Baldur's Gate, don't get me wrong, I do too, but like I feel like the only thing I can think of that had such renown as Fire Emblem in the cosplay community at least, and then also in the general like broader art community was probably Genshin Impact.
Oh, true. Yeah, Genshin hung around for a
But I
while.
think
Yeah,
that the reason why Genshin Impact was so prevalent was because well I think one, given that it's free to play, you get into it, right? And
yeah,
then given that
yeah,
it's gambling, you get hooked.
yeah.
And then also the accessibility of the cosplays because you
Yes,
can
you could just
every
buy it.
single one of
Yeah,
them you can buy. So I
yeah,
think that
and they look good, and they look
mhm.
very well made. Like from what I can see in
Yeah, they're
pictures and
like pretty
stuff.
well made, and like obviously there's some things like like the hardware of it, like the hardware pieces they might make out of like fabric where it should be made of like a foam or like a 3D print or something.
Right,
But
right.
people just do that; they just like buy the
Yeah,
costume and they
yeah,
upgrade it. But like
right.
I think the accessibility of Genshin, the addictiveness that
Yeah.
gotcha games have, and I think that like the designs are really pretty, and so I think that enough people were like all in on Genshin that it became pretty big. But here's the thing, and I will contend and fight this. I don't think the Genshin community cared enough as much about Genshin as the Fire Emblem community cared about Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I don't play Genshin, so I can't speak. I've heard not so great things about the community, like, but but so I can't. But I know they went strong. I'm not saying all Genshin fans are bad. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying
I
like
am.
it's
No, I'm
like
kidding.
yeah. But so yeah, I can't. But that's interesting coming from a Genshin. Like you're a fan of both, so
Yeah,
it's
like
interesting.
I played through like not the most. I stopped playing because at least I kind of fell out of it. Andrew is a huge Hoyoverse like stan, so like I keep up through him.
Oh, Honkai Star
Um,
Rail
oh,
and
Honkai and
Zenless
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 Zone
Zen Zero.
Zero and all of those things.
Exactly.
The credit card swiping.
Yeah,
Yeah, trust.
that's so
Um,
cute.
but I digress. So yeah,
Oh, okay.
Fire Emblem. So we're talking about Fire Emblem, and then going into your music. So like, I guess, do you think it kind of hit at the perfect time to where like we were stuck in our houses and you kind of reached towards, really, you always practice music, right? You
Mhm.
always were heavily involved in making these video game tracks and composing them and playing them. Do you think you more heavily leaned into that during the pandemic in like 2020, 2021? And do you think that like you started to collaborate more with other people, or were you always kind of doing that beforehand and I just didn't notice?
I was always doing that beforehand.
Okay, so it's me.
But no. But but it's kind of it's interesting that you have. It's interesting that you observed that they seem to be more during the pandemic because I think more collaborations happened during the pandemic because more people were free to do them.
Mm.
So it was I always was doing like like I was always down for like collaborating with people and everything, but I think during the pandemic more people were free to do so they agreed to when I my proposals. So then you might have seen more from me then because people had more free time.
No, maybe that's
So
maybe
yeah,
that is
I
it.
think
Maybe
that
that is it.
yeah, that's definitely it. So I think that my like I was always willing to, but my output was increased during the pandemic just because people had more free time. And
Sure. Well, I also think that like we also, at least I know a lot of us, were not making costumes at least during 2020 because we
yeah.
were all like depressed and kind of scared and like we weren't seeing
Yes.
anyone. So
Yes.
I think that for sure like we were all online. So I think that probably you were still making music, doing like virtual collaborations with people and you were posting them and then I was seeing those while I was like rotting basically and I was like, "Oh my god, this is so pretty." And then I would just like be like, "I wish I could be back at Katsucon and Fire Emblem cosplay." But
Oh yeah. No, I mean, like, I feel like I was still, yeah, like I was. I remember I was so gung ho. Okay, so I wore Mercedes to Magfest, and like a pre-time skip, schoolgirl
was
Mercedes,
that in
and like
January before COVID?
yes, that was January. That was Magfest 2020. That
Right.
was
So that was
before
like
the
about
lockdown.
a month
A
ish
month
before
before, yeah, a month
Katsucon.
before the lockdown, and it was like you say, like people like Magfest, like usually because it's not a cosplay heavy con. Usually the cosplay meetups are pretty like tame, and but like I could not believe like everyone who showed out for the Fire Emblem. It was like it was like Katsicon. Like I don't even want to think about what Katsicon was like. If Magfest is like that, if the Magfest Fire Emblem, like in at the height of Three Houses like hype. I'm sure Katsicon was a madhouse, but Magfest, like we took up the entire fountain area, and like people were like, "We've never seen this. This is like unprecedented. This is like crazy." So, so yeah. So I remember I was going hard on Mercedes. I was also working on Dancer Mercedes, which I still have not worn. Can you believe that?
You
She's
haven't worn
sitting.
it?
She's sitting. I see. I'm like staring at it right now on my dress form. She's right there. She's been sitting on my dress form for like the past like what 6-7 years, and I have not worn it. Okay, I don't think it was that. It was like I finished her in 2020, I mean 2021, and Akon had asked me to guest, like, but then because the con got delayed for like, or it got postponed like two years in a row, and then I basically retired from cosplay. So that's what they asked someone else, which is totally fine. And but yeah, so that was like because I had planned to wear Dancer Mercedes for Akon, and also I was working on Time Skip Leonie, and I remember Kyoka Kimidori cosplay. She had made schoolgirl Leonie. We were gonna go to Soccer Con and have this whole like, oh, Leonie. And but yeah, I mean, Time Skip Leonie has been sitting at a like 40% completion. I mean, and the thing is, I had the kit from the Dangerous Ladies. I have every like it was just like, oh yeah, okay, I'll get to it, whatever. Like,
Okay,
so yeah,
we're gonna put a
okay,
tack in that and come back to the whole
okay,
cosplay
sorry,
a
yeah,
bit of it all. No, no, no. But I have it on here because that's important. But
okay.
um related to the music piece, I want to see
Oh
if I can
no,
do this. Let's see.
I'm listening to
I
my own
don't
stuff.
know if no, I mean it's not just you if that makes it any better. So you don't
Okay,
have to be
good.
witness to just your piano playing.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know if this is going to have the audio come through. Maybe if I do a tab, it says tab audio, so the listeners should be able to hear it too. We are gonna go ahead and share this.
Oh my gosh! Yes, okay,
And for
this.
those that are listening, this is the track The Apex of the World from Fire Emblem Three Houses. And here we have a collaboration between not just Ruby on piano, but also a lot of other musicians. Can you explain like who
Okay,
these people are and like how
okay.
this happened?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is when I'm talking about how Three Houses brought people together. Like how you were saying how Three Houses brought the cosplay community together in a way that you haven't seen like in another community since. Like or, and this is basically what Three Houses did to us musicians in the VGM community. It was like cuz we were all so into it. And there were a lot of new players too. So, okay. So, let me back up. It was so new players to the franchise, that is. So on violin one was Patty Rudisell, and great violinist. This was her first Fire Emblem game, and then she got really sucked in. She's a Black Eagles girl, but I'll forgive her for that. And
Okay, I'll forgive her for that too. It's okay. Everyone is wrong sometimes. And sometimes you end up worshiping a demon lady, but that's okay.
She's trying to convince me on Hubert, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, that man is evil. Okay, you cannot convince me otherwise. One day I'll do a Black Eagles run. I'm sorry. Okay, can't hate on Black Eagles fans. Okay, then on violin 2 is my friend Tara. And she's a great violinist, great vocalist, and someone I've known in the community for a while too. On viola is my friend Joe, who we've just collaborated forever on everything. Like, he's usually my Xenoblade collaborator, but because like he's always the person I reach to for viola, and he's a Blue Lions, he's a fellow Blue Lions fan. So I, of course,
good. The correct choice.
Yes, the correct choice. Andrew, who's on cello, is Golden Deer. It's fine. It's just totally fine. Like they're a good house. I don't mind them. And he also great cellist, and like a frequent collaborator, someone I always collaborate with. He's the best. And then on harp is my friend Samantha, who I met like just that year through Fire Emblem, because I guess we had just kind of we connected through Fire Emblem. Like, oh hey, let's do something. So it was when I wrote this arrangement, it was my idea to try to pull in all like my friends that were into Fire Emblem and try to do this huge collaboration. And so I pulled in Samantha. So there was me, there was Samantha, Patty, Tara, Joe, Andrew, and then we have Joe Zija, the voice of Claude Von Regan himself. So Joe,
the Golden Deer leader, I don't know what their names were.
Yeah, the house leader or
house
whatever.
leader. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's actually a great musician, and he'd been really active in Overclock Remix for years and years, and so he was, I guess, like when I was posting piano covers of like the Fire Emblem of Three Houses stuff, like they like the voice actors kind of picked up on them and started sharing them around, and that was really nice of them, because a lot of like like when you're in I guess voice acting comes out of like you were usually like a theater kid, and then theater kids usually are crossover to music theater, so a lot of them can sing, a lot of them are musicians themselves, and so they appreciated like my covers. I was, like I said, it was nice of them, and they shared it around, and then that's how I got connected with Joe Zija, like because he asked for like piano music or something, and so then I was like, hey, would you like to play on this cover I'm doing of Apex of the World, this arrangement? And he was like, yeah, sure, but I can offer only sax or clarinet. So he was like, maybe clarinet, and I don't know. I just couldn't see. I mean, a clarinet would have worked better with the ensemble we had. Like, saxophone is just kind of weird. Like,
what is this instrument?
He's playing a soprano sax. So okay. Saxophone is one of those weird instruments that it fits in a band, like a marching band, or maybe, but I think, or jazz, but. Other than that, it doesn't go in anywhere else. It's like it maybe like saxophone quintets, but like an orchestra, there's like very few orchestra pieces, like traditional orchestra pieces call for saxophone. It just it's just sort of a weird. It was a weird mix. So this is a really strange arrangement. This is a really unorthodox like collection of instruments. Like, so I mean, everything was okay. The harp is a little unorthodox too, because harp and piano kind of cover the same like area. So, but we made it work. But working in the sax was a real challenge.
Well, let's listen to a sample of it right now and see what this sounds like.
Oh! Stop! I forgot.
She's like, stop everything.
No, because, okay, credit where credit's due. How can I forget Mary Kate on the vocals? Mary Kate. I'm sorry, Mary Kate. Mary Kate's beautiful voice. I mean, that was hot. That was so important. Okay, sorry, Mary Kate on Mary
and Kate. I like this little nod to Claude being like upside down on the top of the screen.
Okay, Patty did the video. So Patty the violinist, like she's up in the top upper left. She did the video because she's like video whiz. She's like, and she did that. So that's all her. Like putting like Joe upside down.
I live. at your fingers.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Do you ever look at yourself playing sometimes and you're like, how do fingers move that quickly?
No, usually I'm just like, oh my gosh, I look terrible. Like why isn't this better?
Stop.
No, I'm
Okay,
serious.
wait.
Okay, I gotta say, this was so hard. Like this to play. Like it was hard for everyone. It was hard for me. It was the string players. Many string players had been like, this is like, can you please rewrite this, like, because to make this like more playable, like, because it was hard for everyone except Joe Zicha, because I was like, oh, he's busy, he won't agree to this if I make him if I write him a really hard part, so I wrote him a super easy part, and then he got it done in like a day. He sent it to me like within like 2 hours. But everyone else, including me, we were all dying. And since then I've sworn I will never do that to my friends again. I will not write such a hard part that they will have to ask me to rewrite it. I felt
to
very
dumb it
bad.
down. No.
Yeah, no, to dumb it down. Some things are just not playable because I don't play, like, I don't know what it's like to finger stuff. So, you know, so I'll just write something.
Same. No.
Yeah, so I'll just write something that sounds good, and then but they're like, this is, I can't do this, like, whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. So I feel really bad because it's like aggravating, you know, because you're like, oh,
I get that.
You know, so yeah, I mean, like, so when I write stuff, I'll write the hard stuff for myself. I can make myself suffer, but I just not gonna make anyone else suffer for my crap.
So, like, okay, explain this for someone who literally does not understand.
Okay.
You're saying that you said that you arranged this music,
yeah.
Or like,
Okay.
what's the term you said?
Oh yeah. Okay. So when it's a cover song, when it's a song, okay. So to compose a song means that you write a completely original, like, you know, like it's your own thing, like that's your own original song. So that's you're composing. But when it's a song someone else wrote that you're adapting for your own instrument, another set of instruments, it's called arranging. So yeah, that's the difference. So yeah, okay. When I say I arranged it, like I didn't compose it because I didn't write it, like, you know, like, but I arranged it. I adapted it for like this.
So for each instrument, you kind of like said, okay, you're gonna have to play like this note, then this note.
Yeah, I wrote every single part.
That's crazy. How long did that take?
Okay, like 9 parts altogether. Okay, well, for the vocals, I did have to write that out. Okay, but yeah, it took like maybe like, okay, on a, like, for something like, it was maybe 400 hours. Just, it was like, but the same, like a cosplay. It was like making a cosplay. You're writing every single note.
Jesus Christ! So you gave all of them their own parts in this arrangement, and then they each recorded it on their own, and then I guess you just have to hope that the tempo, is that the right word, like, is
you have a click track. So I had sent everyone a click track, like a metronome, like, you know, to set to, like, you know, whatever, like quarter note equals 180, and then so everyone records to a beat, so it's like so yeah, so everyone's on more or less. But then, like, my friend Frederick Hathen, like, he mixed it, and which is really important because the mixing, he was the mixing engineer, because then you got all these parts, and you have to figure out how they all like glue it all together so it sounds good, because when you throw it all together, it just does not sound good.
A cacophony of madness.
Yes, it does. Yeah. So he cleaned it up. He panned everyone in the stereo field, like, so it sounded really nice, and especially working in the sax, that was good. That was a nightmare because the sound of the sax is so different from the strings or everything else that was in there that I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Frederick, help. So yes, so a lot of people were behind this. So
no, it's so cool. I mean,
thank
you. It's so fun, especially to see, like, from music that I love, from games that I love. It's just really, really cool. It's especially when you put so much work into it, and like this can come together. It's really impressive. So I love it's awesome. And no, you are a phenomenal pianist, and I say this from being able to hear you play live before, because I think there was one cursed anime matsuri where you played at the formal dance.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Was that the first time we met? Maybe that was the first time we met.
No, it wasn't.
It was not. Okay, because that formal ball. Oh yeah. Okay.
Almost killed you.
We could say a lot of things about anime Matsuri. A lot of things. But I would just say the formal ball, like, Teresa, bless her heart, like, she did the best she could, like, organizing that absolute, like, yeah. You know, Okay, so we couldn't hear. Okay, I don't even want to get it. Like that was the most nightmarish gig. I'm glad we got paid for it,
We
but we
can leave it
couldn't.
at nightmare, and I'm glad I got paid because I think.
It was. I mean, I'm like impressed you even heard me play there because we couldn't even hear each other play because
Well, when I come and stand right next to the piano and look over your shoulder, it's kind of hard not to.
I mean, there was like at one point it was probably in Dance of Pails from Castlevania. Like I think our viola player was like a whole measure off from the first violin because they just couldn't hear each other. I've never played in a space where the acoustics were so dampened that it was just like the fact that every there was carpeting on the walls. Like there was a ton of people, and it was just the most terrible acoustics. I like literally could not hear like Joe was beside me. I couldn't hear Andrew. The cellist was. I couldn't hear anybody. It was like playing in a womb. Like it was so frustrating. I was so mad.
Would you ever, if like a convention, say like I don't know, like Anime Expo was like, oh my gosh, PurpleSchala, we found you on YouTube and you have these like arrangements and you have these like people that you play with. Would you all consider coming and like doing like a quartet or something like that at Anime Expo's formal ball? And would you do that?
Okay. As all right. Just because I have so much experience like playing at cons and the logistics of it. If I were a violinist or if my instrument was mobile, no, then no problem. Then it'd be like, oh yeah, absolutely. But because the logistics of getting a piano in that space and actually getting the acoustic environment like good in that space so that people can actually hear you is actually really hard because you for like to get an even like or if I get an electric piano in there then yeah people do that you put a digital piano in there then you can play and then it's no problem but then you have to like haul that thing like it's heavy you gotta have a place to store it you gotta bring your bench you gotta bring your music you gotta
No,
bring a
no, no.
music stand. Okay.
They say you tell us what piano you want and you
Oh,
tell us and then we'll provide it for you.
oh,
All you have to do
okay.
is bring your music.
Oh, okay. Then I'm sold. I mean, the whole I'm there. It's the
All
only thing that
right.
keeps me from playing at cons is the logistics because it's because I have to arrange it myself and
Right.
it's awful. So
Wait, so for that one Matsuri, did you have to bring your own piano?
No, 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 no. But I had to call. Okay, so Teresa was like, "Look, I don't know anything about pianos. Like, if you can just call and you call the rental place and rent and set up the rental delivery, we will make sure to be there." And they were so it all worked out. It all worked out. So yeah, it was just the space itself was just oh gosh, but yeah.
That was the first and only and last formal ball I ever went to at Anime Matsuri. I'll just say that.
That was I think the last time I've ever been to Anime Mitsuri. They've actually
Yeah, I think
asked me
same.
they've asked me to come back, but I've been like no, sorry. Many
And
no.
we thought Final Fantasy XVI was bad. Get a load of this.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. Oh my gosh, I don't know how that con is still in.
I don't know either. I know that
Okay.
like I think I don't even know,
Yeah.
but a whole can of worms.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Moving
Okay.
on. That's a whole
So
thing.
I want to talk about yeah, your cosplay. So you made throughout at least all the way up to 2020 a number of different costumes for
Oh my
yourself and for
gosh.
other people too.
Oh
Um
yes.
and I love you, Elliot. I wish I had the Ruby's
Oh yes.
costumes.
Oh
I
yes.
miss him.
I
He's doing
miss
great
him
though.
too.
I love watching his stories where he's repurposes like furniture and like
Oh my
upgrades it
gosh,
and like
he's so clever and he's good with that. I don't remember the last time I visited him. Like, every time we've gone and we've seen how he's like some new thing that he's gotten off Facebook Marketplace that someone threw out, and he just made it into this beautiful built-in and painted it like this gorgeous shade of gray or whatever. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this looks so pro. Like he's so good at like
I
that kind of
know.
thing. But yeah, anyways, okay,
Anyway, aside from that, which
yeah.
no one they don't have no idea what we're talking about. It's fine. And they're
Al
like,
will know. Ellie will know
who
who
the
we're
fuck is
talking about.
Elliot? And like, why are they talking about Facebook
Okay,
Marketplace?
we'll
It's fine.
explain that in a bit. Okay.
So you made a lot of cosplays, and we talked about that. I think right at the beginning. They were actually really beautiful, regardless of what if they were technically constructed. Leave that aside. they looked really pretty and they fit well and they looked really pretty. So that's all that really matters.
Oh, thank you,
Um,
Zach. That means a
and
lot
you
coming
also
from you.
and you also had like you had like a power around you, an aura, if you will, where I feel like the people just drew in. It was like a gravitational force of some kind. I'm specifically referencing your large uh Hoshido group that you did in
Oh my
DC,
gosh.
which was so cool.
Oh my gosh.
So talk about that.
Ugh.
You flew to everyone, or a lot of people. Some people were local, right? But a lot of y'all flew to DC for this. How many people were in this group?
Oh my
When was
gosh,
this?
I
Tell me
think it was
about it.
like
Tell me about it.
50, okay, I think it was 15 people. Okay. And first I have to say huge thank you to Rose Aram for and her husband Dan for hosting us all in their townhouse, because like that was like crazy stressful for her. Like, so the people that were involved were like my usual crew. So it was Laura, Kimi Dori, and Rose, of course. And then Elliot, of course, he was local. He was my Hoshido prince, my
Lobster Man.
yes. And then like Rose's cosplay partner Sydney came in from Dallas, and we bought her, like, I think it was either she had just had a kid or I can't remember, but but she was she was Azura, so she bought hers, and she was a beautiful Azura, so yeah. And then okay, I want to say I can't remember if Natalie was there or okay.
Was she
Carol was definitely
Sakura?
there as Tuck. Yeah, I want to say I can't remember who was. I've been in parts of like little
Different
Hoshido
groups,
yeah,
different
so I can't
groups
remember
and
who was.
iterations.
Okay,
I'm just
gonna mention it if just so
if they're
I
there,
feel
they're
bad.
there.
Yeah,
and if they're not, they're not.
they weren't. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up. I'm getting old. Okay, so Natalie was Sakura. Okay, and then I can't remember if Kim was there. No, Kim. No, because it was Kimi Dori what's her name?
Hinoka.
Hinoka. Yes. Okay, so yeah, Kim wasn't there. Kim was Hinoka some other time. Okay, and then oh yeah, Danny. My friend Danny from okay, that was I made him be my Hoshido husband. My so that's still one of my favorite cosplays I'd made. Like so Elliot had lent me the mold for the Hoshido crest, and so he could be tragic father, tragic patriarch of the Hoshido clan. So I made his Jinbari, his war coat, the surcoat, and he made all the armor. And then he made like the horned helmet and everything, and and because we were working off like reference photos that were like these tiny little like because he came up in flashbacks,
or
it was like 2-second cutscenes from his back. And like, I think someone managed to find us concept art, which was a real help. But man, I loved how the fabric I got for that. I sourced it locally, and it was like this really beautiful navy blue sateen it was heavy. When it feels heavy in your hand.
Oh yeah,
it's like
for sure.
It's like you just want to roll it. I still love that. I found this awesome gold like that I suffered making bias tape for, but it was great. And then like the gold braid, and I mean I loved. I'm trash for those Japanese traditional like like apparel
Like
anyway.
the
So
yeah.
I was making that. I love doing the research for it. I mean, this is my wartime husband. Making the war. He's going to war. He's
like Betsy Ross sewing the flag. Oh my god.
So yeah, there were 15 people all up in there. Okay, I think Danny invited a friend to be Rinka, and then let me see who else was there. So we had Azura. Okay, so we had the main Hoshido crew. Oh, okay. Then there was a really, really good Corin, and I kind of like didn't know her, like, except for we kind of fangirled over each other on Instagram. And so her name was Kit Kat Cosplay. She was like, her armor work was beautiful, really, really beautiful, Corin. And so she agreed. I was like, hey, you want to come down? And she was from Pennsylvania, so she's like, yeah. It's like my mom's gonna drive me. I was like, your mom's gonna drive you from Pennsylvania to this cosplay shoot. Anyway, so yeah, it was great. I mean, her mom was there for the whole thing. Like, she was really young, so I felt a little bad. I mean, not a minor. Like, but she was in her 20s. but we met her mom. Her mom was like lovely, and just really like so it was great. And so
where did you? So you all flew in, or a lot of you flew in to Virginia.
This is northern
where
Virginia.
was it? Like, where did you shoot exactly?
Fairfax. Fairfax. It was
Oh.
this nice little. I want to say it wasn't a Japanese garden, but there was a section of it that looked kind of like that. It was like it was a Korean pavilion, but I was like, is this going to be weird? They're like, well, they're not supposed to be. Hoshida's not. It's supposed to be some vaguely Asianish people anyway. So they're like, it's fine. So yeah, we had that setting, and then Max, our photographer friend, came down also. So no, he was local. Sorry. Oh yeah, then Katie. Sorry, Katie was, I forgot, and then Chris. They were the titty ninjas. Sorry.
Not the titty ninjas.
Yeah,
Oh, my God.
yes. You knew we had to have them. So yeah, we I can't believe I completely forgot our like, whatever, our handlers. What were they? Our
Retainers.
Retainers.
Yes.
So yeah, we had some retainers. I can't remember. Okay, yeah, right. Chris and Katie were the ninja. Okay, I can't remember who else was there. Do we have any kids? We didn't have any kids. No, just Corn was the only kid. So no, yeah, no hot like grandson. Ryan.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yes.
Shiro. Yeah. Okay.
Was that the first time you had ever like not only organized but like participated in a really large cosplay group shoot in a completely different state to fly to, or had you ever done that before?
I think it's hard. It's getting all mixed up in my mind, I hate to say, but it's not the only time I've done it. But that was the largest group. That was, I think, I've done a Xenoblade shoot like in New York. We shot in Bryant Park. That was for Xenoblade 2 in Torna. That was nice. That was really fun. And then we've done it like there was another time. I feel like I'm drawing a blank. I think it was also Xenoblade, but I could be wrong. It could have been that could have been the only other time the Xenoblade shoot. Oh no, sorry. There was another time, but it was a Hushido shoot. It was just me and my Mikoto's retainer. And I'm talking about the lady with the naginata.
Yeah,
that was
I don't remember her name.
I don't remember her name either. But Alicia was my friend that, and like we met online through when the Fates hype was like huge, and she did such a beautiful job on that character and I happened to be at SakuraCon, so we met up at the Japanese garden and we shot at the Japanese garden, and it like those are some of my favorite pictures ever. Like it was just, the photographer was fantastic, and Alicia and I like really had a great time, and I just love those pictures. I love Queen Makoto. That's my favorite cosplays ever. So I just love all this. I think it's the reason I love Fate so much is independent of the game itself, is because of all the memories I have are some of my best cosplay memories ever. Like those groups, like like with Elliot and all the friends, and so yeah. And then I just regret that Francois and I never really got a chance to do, but he was Nor. He was Norian scum.
That cosplay was really good though. Oh my God, he was gorgeous.
Cosplay. Okay. I'm glad you reminded me, because the other time we did it was we shot in New York for Final Fantasy 15, because his Ravis was like seeing it in real life was just like you just would not believe how good this cosplay is.
Here's the thing. I saw that cosplay in person.
You did? Okay.
I did. At
so
I think he wore it. Holy fuck. Yes. So the thing is, what really got me is up to that point, he was like, it's very that classic, like, I can do props and armor, very that vibe, right?
Yes.
But then he shows up with this like full ass like coat, a trench coat kind of get up down to the floor, and it's like the seaming of, I think he used this like white, I think, pleather, and the seaming that was done, the piping that was in the seams, the bias tape that was all included onto this costume, let alone all the hardware that he made for this costume. Like, it was literally it was one of the most complex patterns I think I've ever seen in a garment before. And he made this
easily. I mean, and like he even went all out on parts you don't see, like, because when we traveled on the subway to the location, he didn't wear all of it, so I got to see like the undershirt or whatever, and I'm just like, you actually went all out for the stuff. Like, you don't even see this part. Like, it was unbelievable. It was like the underside of that outer cloak, like near the hem. There were
Yeah.
these like black sort of diamond pattern things that I'm just like, you barely notice that, but it's like you actually included this, like, and it was perfectly sewn. Like,
That's
I'm
the
just like,
thing. I
this
remember
is a
having a
work of
conversation
art.
with him and being like, he was like, "Oh, like I don't think my work is good enough to like do a contest in," and I was like,
That's
"What the fuck
so.
is wrong with you?" I was like,
That
"This
is
is."
so Francois.
I
That
was
is,
like, "This is beautiful." I was like, This is
oh my gosh.
impeccable," and
Yes.
I'm not just
Yeah.
saying that to bullshit you. Like,
Yes. No.
if it looked like Ruby's cosplays, I would. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. No. Seriously, you would be like, okay, you could just,
No, I'm
yeah,
kidding.
no.
But no, it was so gorgeous, and I
Oh
was
yeah, no,
like,
he was on another level. He like, I would gladly gas him up. He's
yeah.
always been on another level. Like, if I know exactly what you mean, because before like getting to the sewing, he was really good at like armor. Like, when he like all this armor stuff, the prop stuff was like unbelievable. Like when they competed at World Cosplay Summit for their face cosplays with him and his friend, like that was like the sword that lit up, like, oh my gosh. And then when he goes to making Ravis, and then just like with every like progress photo, I'm like losing my mind. Like literally, like, what the heck how like, how are you this is like perfect, and like,
I
but yeah,
know.
but it's just like, as you say, he's always so like, yeah, yeah, he's not like, he's never like, I'm so proud of this. He's just sort of like, yeah, it's
I know.
okay. Yeah.
Exactly.
And we're all just like,
Um
this is the most perfect thing we've ever seen.
it's like you feel your oats more. Like literally,
Yes,
like
right,
you deserve
right.
it.
Yeah, I'm just so happy I saw that in person and got to cosplay. Like, I was just like, I love you so
I know.
much.
Also,
I
my
know.
camera literally got blurry. I don't know what happened. I think I
Oh,
like stood up or moved, and now I'm like blurry. Whatever. I'm like,
oh.
anyway. I don't know how to fix it, so it's gonna be what's gonna be. Wait, maybe if I do this real quick, hold up.
Okay,
Let
yeah,
me like
yeah.
turn my camera off real quick, and then turn it back on, and maybe it'll fix it.
Okay.
I've never had this happen before. Nope, it's blurry. Oh well.
Oh,
Anyway,
it's not
next.
that bad. It's
Okay.
okay.
It's like Vaseline. It's like a filter. We'll just pretend.
There you go.
Okay. I want to talk about, so you had all these cosplay experiences. You made a ton of costumes, so many friends met, so many experiences with groups and location shoots and conventions. And then obviously the pandemic happened. Was that kind of what set your departure from being active in the cosplay community, or was it leading up to that point you were already feeling like you were falling out of cosplay, or like kind of how did that happen?
Okay, yeah, it's a little of both. I think leading up to it, I was starting to feel like, okay, I'm starting to age out of this hobby. Um, it was, I think, when I think it was. I think also, the last Katsucon we went to, like, I think, like, it was pretty telling how Elliot and I didn't roll into the con until like Saturday, like, or like, I think, and we didn't stay at the Gaylord. We were like, whatever, and then we were just really unmotivated to go. I mean, even though we were like glad to be there, but we showed up for the Xenoblade photo shoot, and that was it. But the fact that he and I were just sort of like, it was just so not like when I first started cosplay, where it's like, okay, we're getting that Thursday evening, and we're gonna do and then scheduling like photo shoot back to back, like starting from Thursday evening, and then
Hmm.
two costume changes a day, and so yeah, so we were starting to, and then like and then my usual crew was also starting to sort of, I think Rose went back to school, and so she got too busy for. I think Laura got kind of fell out of it, and and kind of retired too, and then so it was just me and Kimi Dori, and then then the pandemic, and then we were then I think Three Houses did revive some of that, but then like when the pandemic happened, it was just kind of like all our motivation. Well, we're not going to see each other, so it's kind of like stop working on all this stuff, and then it's just sort of like, oh, this is kind of nice not to work on anything. and, and then it was just then it just kind of yeah then it just kind of happened, and then I think what it really got to me was when I was just cleaning out some stuff, and then I just realized how like wasteful cosplay is. Just it's bad for the
Mm.
environment. Like you waste a lot of materials, like making a mock-up, and then just like I was like, there's so much waste involved. I'm starting to feel guilty. about
Mm-hmm.
like so I think the last cosplay I made was for Octopath Traveler 2, like maybe a year ago, like when I was playing the game, and I got all like, oh, okay, I'm going back and do this, but I was like, I'm only going to use things that I have, so that ended up kind of being semi-disastrous because we're talking like beads made out of Play-Doh kind of thing, which I do not recommend. I do not recommend. It's like
That's like
just
closet cosplay to the nth degree. But that's also kind of crazy though, because like you were like making an intentional decision, like I don't want to buy anything for this. I want to use what I already have on hand. But then you were like, I literally don't know how to make or use these things, so we're gonna use like, my kids' Play-Doh.
yes, that was literally it. I mean, I was like working with adhesives that were expired. I was like, no, I cannot buy anything new, and it was like really just so much more stressful than it had to be. Like, you know, so and like those Octopath 2, I made 2 Octopath 2 cosplays. They were used in my YouTube videos. They will never be worn at a convention because they're just not like, because I was not working with the ideal materials, just in the interest of trying to be like environmentally friendly yet try to indulge my own hobby. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, but yeah, so I mean it was kind of like that was the last spurt of cosplay like motivation I had. Ever since then it's just been dead.
Do you think you might ever like I know that there are a lot of cosplayers now especially that are trying to take up a more sustainable approach to their costumes and like buy secondhand fabric or dead stock
Yeah,
fabric or
yeah.
like buy from like creative reuses where like they have like people that donate things that like just need to be basically like the donations and the funds go to fundraise things, other things like that. Do you think you'd ever go down that route of trying to like procure materials in that way and potentially revisit making costumes again, or do you think that that whole part of your life is kind of like packed away?
You know, I gotta say, like, I would. There's part of me that would. I would. I don't want to ever. I don't want to close that door, like because I loved it so much, you know, and it was
Mm-hmm.
such a great. I made so many great friends. I have so many great memories. I don't. I don't want to close that door, you know. And I invested so much time and money and effort and whatever, and have all these, you know, really great photos. And yeah, I just don't. I don't want to close the door being like it's done. It's done. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not done. I mean, I may wear Dancer Mercedes one of these days, but at the same
I
time,
will organize a Fire Emblem Three
oh
Houses
god,
dancer group and we can wear these costumes. We can do a whole thing, I
oh my
promise.
gosh, I love you for that. Thank you, Zach. But at the same time, I'm also kind of like I am feeling a little my age, like, you know, I'm almost 50, so yeah,
No.
I am, and
Well, you're
so
Asian, so you'll never look it. So there's
yeah,
that.
yeah, but you know, it's just the way you know, you're just like, oh, I'm getting too old for this. You know,
Hmm.
maybe I can't pull this character off anymore. I can't pull off a high schooler anymore. You know, Mercedes
Hmm.
supposed to be in high school, like, you know, even after the time skip, she's supposed to be what, like 19. So
It's
there's
okay. We have Facetune for that.
I know,
It's
but at the same
fine.
time, it's just like, you know, there's a part of me that's like, what am I doing? Kind of just
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm too old to be dressing as a 19-year-old, like, you know, act your age kind of thing. So even though no one has made me feel that way, which I'm very
Hmm.
thankful for, everyone has been super lovely. Everyone throughout my entire, like, because I got into cosplay like in my 30s, so
Hmm.
you know, and then like so yeah, everyone has been just even all my friends have been like 10, 15 years younger than me, and like they all have been just so like unabashed, like, oh, you look great, ah, you know, you included, you know, so
But
it's
it's
like, you know,
true. We're not just. I mean,
yeah,
we're
no,
not just saying
I know,
these
I know, I
things.
know, I
Like,
know it's, I know, right, I know it's genuine. I know you guys really,
yeah.
really believe that. So that really means like a lot. It really, really does mean a lot. So yeah, I think like I might have one last hurrah just to like, you know, get it all, get it all out of the way, and then be like, okay, then shut the door on it forever. But I don't think I can ever really shut the door on it forever.
It
So
can
yeah,
always be a little bit cracked open,
yeah,
just
right,
like, I
right.
mean, even incorporating your even incorporating like literally like costumes you may never wear out of the house that were made like in the span of like a few days, incorporating those into your videos for your music, which is something that I don't foresee you stopping, right?
Yeah, no, music was always the end game. That was always gonna be it. But I do hesitate to mix cosplay and music like too much. And I'm it's not because I'm against it in principle. I'm not like because like in fact because a lot of Taobao and a lot of these like Genshin costumes are like so readily available now. It's easy for people to just buy them, and then it's that's why like makeup artists do that, or like like, I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing a lot of my friends like in the YouTube space like dress up in cosplay and they play as the song and cosplay or whatever from the game, and that's people love seeing that, and it's great, and I love seeing it too. I'm like I think it's a real challenge to play in cosplay.
Oh yeah,
The
for sure.
wig is so hot, and you have like very little
Yeah.
limited mobility, gloves or whatever. But I personally can't like, or something that I just these are like two separate worlds that I just can't mix together for me personally, just because I invested so much like individually in each that I feel really strange. Like I feel like it would dilute one or the other for me. Like
What's
but
interesting is that like cosplay came from the music video game space that you
yeah,
found, but
yeah,
then at the end of it all, you're like, I feel like I need to keep those things separate.
yeah. That's super interesting. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of strange how it is, because I think I just like, and I do want to really make clear that this is only a personal. I do love seeing other people do it. Like when I see it, I'm like, oh, this is such a great celebration of something, of fandom, just seeing it all come together. You're cosplaying like an arrangement you made of this game you love, and I love seeing it, just for me personally, because my history has been like I've crafted like these costumes. It's like a separate endeavor that I poured myself
Mm,
into, and then like writing, like arranging music and writing these, like it's like you said before, it stems from the same desire to create and see, and really happy seeing it come to life. It stems from that same thing, but it's two different branches in my brain that
yeah.
that when I feel like when it mixes together, I want to keep that. I just want to keep that separate, because they're most sacred, like in their own separate ways. So yeah, like mixing one and the other is kind of weird. It's too weird for me for me.
No.
But I love seeing other people do it. So yeah.
Gotcha. No, I guess it makes sense. Like mixing things like that, I guess, and also like you said, the logistics of actually playing while you're wearing these things can be very
Oh my
difficult.
gosh.
But
Yeah, nothing but respect for people that can do that. Like, I cannot.
yeah,
I'm like corseted up within an inch of my life. I'm like, how do you even move?
oh god.
So, yeah.
I want to. So, just my only other question on this. So, I think that a lot of people that are in the cosplay community that might be feeling burnt out, or quite frankly, might not find the same enjoyment they found in the hobby, feel like there's like a pressure maybe that they can't pursue other creative outlets or pursue other hobbies because they're going to lose their friendships that they made through cosplay. Have you felt any of that, or like is that something you think about, or I guess how much founded in reality is that like concern versus what you've experienced over the past few years?
No, I don't. I never felt like I would ever lose any of my cosplay friends if I didn't actively participate in the hobby. Just because, like, I think my interactions with them were so like strong, like that I never felt they were in danger of like,
Mm-hmm.
like we can just pick up where we left off. Like it's like with you, like I haven't seen you in like
I
years,
know.
but I never felt like for a minute like, oh, it's gonna be awkward talking to Zach again.
No.
Yeah, no, not at all. It may depend on the person, but
Yeah.
I think you don't get into cosplay unless you're super kind of crazy. I'm sorry.
True. There has
Like,
to be something a little wrong with you. I don't want to be in this
yeah,
circus.
I'm serious. So like, we're all a little unhinged. Like we're all here. We're unhinged. We understand that about each other. So we're there's that sense of camaraderie that we've all sacrificed like
Mm-hmm.
like days, weeks, and months of our lives, and lots of money to make the dream happen. So as nerdy as it is, so we all understand that's kind of like, so we can. I always have felt like that's that kind of bond is stronger than it's not just like internet, like casual acquaintance or whatever,
Right.
kind of like so we understand each other on a deep level. So
Well, I'm just saying that I am tempted, I could make a Dancer Sylvain, and then that could be a very cute
Sylvain.
moment, and we could have a whole group. I know a lot of the
Oh
people
my
that have dancer
gosh.
outfits. It could be very fun.
Uh,
Resurrect PurpleSchala, resurrect Cinnabunny into the cosplay community. You already
oh
have
my
it
gosh,
there.
that would mean so much. I will let you know.
You're like, rain check for now, but
I know. Part of me is like, can I still pull this costume off? You know, it's that whole like, me like turning 50 thing. Like, oh, it's like
look,
yeah,
you're
it's all
only as
self-imposed.
it's all mental,
Yeah, you're
and
right.
none of it is physical, at least for you. You can't say the same thing for other people, but for you, gorgeous.
Oh,
um
thanks, Zach.
no, it's true.
Yeah,
One more
I
thing I want to
bet
talk
that's.
about, your Tonberry.
Oh my
So
gosh.
okay, we were going off about this before the episode even started, but I need to bring it back at the end, and I need to give some preface to those who were like, what the fuck are these people talking about? So one of the first, Ruby and I were trying to figure out when we first met, and I don't think that we actually have a conclusive answer to this. She thinks we met at San Japan one year. I'm not sure, because here's the thing. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. There was an Acon, and it was at the Hilton Anatole, and I saw this little creature hobbling around on the floor, down the sections of the convention center, like walkways. And I was like, what is this little green mass? And I got closer and I realized that it was a Tonberry from Final Fantasy. And this Tonberry had a knife, and it was wearing a cloak. And I don't remember, did you have a lantern with you or
I did.
no?
Oh, yeah, come on,
Okay.
Zach.
Come on, you
When you're
had
making a you gotta go. What am I? You gotta go all the
all I
way,
remember is the
all the
lantern.
way. Yes.
And I remember seeing this little creature, and I was like, how is it moving around? It was like literally like 2 feet tall. I was like, or like 2.5 feet tall, and I was like, how is this moving around on the floor? Like, is this like a little like child inside of this thing? Is this like a little person? What's happening? And I realized that it wasn't really walking, it was rolling. And I was like, what's going on? And I remember there was a whole group of us, and we are like, oh my god, this costume's crazy. And the head lifts up, and there's like where the neckline is, and Ruby pops her head out of it, and it's like, hi, sitting on top of a scooter board, like the ones you would find in elementary school class, in the gym class. But the thing is, when you popped out, I recognized you. So like, I feel like we had to met even before then, where I have no idea. But I know. So anyway,
It could have been
that Tom Berry
online.
memory. That's see, when I told Andrew, I was like, oh yeah, I'm talking to Ruby. She was like, oh my god, I remember her Tom Berry.
Tom, thank you. Tom, I said
this
hi.
was
Thank
this
you.
was probably this was at least 8 years ago, I think. That
Oh
was
my
actually
gosh.
Andrew's first convention, I think. That was
Oh,
his
that's
first
right. I
ever
remember that. Oh
convention.
my gosh, that was so cute. I remember that. I
Yeah,
do
that
remember
was his
that.
first anime convention
That
ever,
was
and he saw
adorable.
that and he remembered. But yeah, I recognized you in that costume, so that couldn't have been when we met.
It could have been just like online, when you see each other
Maybe
so much
online I saw your
online.
costumes, and then I
Yeah,
don't know. But
right.
then
Because I'm really like, now that you're bringing all this up, it's like, I feel like I knew you before, like in
is
real,
Carol
like.
here? I'm about to go drag her in and be like, how do we meet?
Yes.
But before I do that, we'll do that at the
Okay.
end. Before I do that, I want to talk about the costumes. So Ruby has a stuffed Tomberry, and for the longest time, she would post her costumes that she would sew for this Tonberry plush, and they would be the most crazy
Oh
costumes.
yeah, it was
And
great. It
they'd be
was
from
such
Final
a great time.
Fantasy. They'd be from other IPs that weren't even
Yes.
related to Final Fantasy. Show the one you have in your lap.
Okay. So here's our white mage Tomberry. This whole thing came about because I was at Otakon like one year, and I bought him at the dealers in the dealers room or whatever, and I was like, oh, because the first time I'd seen, like, Otakon was one of my first conventions, and then I was like, the first time I'd seen a dealers room, first time I'd seen a Tonberry plush, and I'm like, oh, he's so cute. And then my kids were really young then. They somehow got his coat off and lost it. And so he was naked for the longest time. And I was like, well, we can't have that. So I
A
drafted
naked Tonberry.
he
What's
was
going on
naked.
underneath those
I
robes?
know, but he just okay. Well, he has a cosplay for that too. He has a completely naked cosplay where I just sewed a bunch of green spines made out of felt, and he became Godzilla, and we set him up with like a bunch of like little buildings with like. So yeah, there's Godzilla Tonberry where he's like where we're just where he's got green spines on and stuff because it was just kind of funny. Anyways, but yeah, so I drafted like a coat for him the best I could, and then I sewed the first thing I sewed was like that knockoff Burberry. I found a knockoff Burberry fabric and sewed like a new coat for him with this Burberry. So this Lux Burberry Tonberry,
Love.
which was like still one of my favorite things, which is like really stupid. And then like I think I found this strawberry fabric at Joann's, and I sewed like a strawberry Tonberry. Like he's wearing a strawberry robe, so he has a Burberry robe and a strawberry robe. And then that's when we got into the nerd stuff. He's Jace the Mind Sculptor, and like that was made out of dark blue. I hand painted all the stuff based on the Jace the Mind Sculptor card from that Magic the Gathering. He also has a black mage outfit. Well, he has a white mage outfit. Of course, he has a black mage outfit. He has and Zach saw like the Marbury from Final Fantasy XIV, where he's got this whole like gray robe with a pink lantern with a little wizard hat like thing where he's so he's got that. He has the Beauty and the Beast cloak, the pink one when she's in the when she's there in the snow in the movie. And gosh, there's so many other Full Metal Alchemist, he has Edward Elric's like whatever cloak, the red one. And
You need an archive of this.
I do have it all. I will send you like the collage I have of it, because what made that so fun were the comments. I would post a new Tonberry cosplay like every day, because these things would take like 2 hours tops.
Oh, really?
And then,
That's it?
oh yeah, they were. It was like this small and with the same pattern. It's just like you would like this is the only thing where I sat and stitched down like the little red stripes. We're not doing that again. So but yeah, so then people would just make like the funniest comments about it. They like we all loved it. It was such a great time. So yeah,
Oh
it
my
was like
god.
for
No,
a
I
while.
love.
So it was.
Wait,
It
you
was
should
great.
like literally post those again on your Instagram just randomly.
I will post them again because they were
That way
just.
people can go find it. They'll listen to this. They'll go to your Instagram. They'll find your obviously your music. They'll go scroll and look for your group cosplay photo shoots, Fire Emblem specifically, and then they will find your Tomberries. That's the plan.
Okay. I don't think did I ever post like my big Tonberry, like when I was actually the Tonberry, my furry era.
There's one. I found it on your Instagram. There's a side by side comparison of an actual Tomberry versus your like little creature, and it's there.
Okay, let me say like that was like I would be when I actually, because the like these Tonberry cosplays were the thing that led up to me actually being the Tonberry, because people joked about it, because it was like one of those things where I was like, well, you have to make a Tonberry costume now. It's like, that's true, I have not made a Tonberry costume, so I became the Tonberry. And I got the idea with the kids scooter because it was like field day at my kids elementary school, and I saw them all on the scooters, and I'm like, oh well, there, I could do this. And so I bought the scooter because I inspired by like field day at my elementary school, like these kids, my kids, their elementary school thing. And then then I made the head, and I constructed the body out of like PEX pipe and whatever, and then there was a fan inside. I installed a fan in the head so I could keep cool, but I didn't really need it because I would just pop it off and on because it was just whatever. But then like it was really hard to navigate around the scooter because that Hilton had tiled floors, so I get stuck. Like the wheels would get stuck in between the grout, like on the tiles, and that would just not be good. So yeah, or like handicap ramps. Like I was like, okay, this is not happening. We have to get.
It's out of control.
Yeah, it was really. They needed shock absorbers on those the scooter.
Hey, Tonberry version 2. I'm just saying.
And that is a cosplay I could probably pull off at any age.
It's so true. Be in your wheelchair at one point when you're 90, just like have a motorized scooter. I can't.
I know.
Wait, let me get Carol to see if she can. Hold on one second.
Hey, Carol.
Yeah, she can't hear you. Here, I can like just come over here to the microphone. All right, so how did we meet? Because I don't remember, and you might. So we saw.
It was at Anime Matsuri when Teresa was
too late because I met Ruby in her Tonberry at Acon in 2016 for sure. Unless that concert was in 2015.
No, I think that concert was 2016.
Concert was 2016. I don't know. Maybe none of us know.
Yeah.
I thought you might. I thought your brain was like
My
a save.
first memory of meeting Ruby was at the concert at the formal dance.
When you
at
sang?
Anime Matsuri, yes.
Wait.
Maybe that was it.
Yes, that's right. Oh, it probably
happened to
was.
just run into Ruby as Tonberry.
Before, but I knew it doesn't matter. I thought I don't know what happened.
We will double check all this on the timeline. Like, we will get timestamps for all this to just verify.
I'm gonna asking people randomly that we know, be like, "Hey, how did I meet Ruby?" And they'd be like, "What the fuck why are you asking me?"
But no, my first memory was meeting up with Ruby to rehearse for the formal dance.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah,
because I was singing and she was playing.
Yeah, I think that was the first thing we were doing. And
we'll go with that then. Thank you for joining another episode of the Cosplay Crunch. If you would like to submit a question to one of our fantastic guests, don't, because I'm not going to remember to ask it. No, you can. I promise eventually I will ask these questions at cosplaycrunchpod@gmail.com. Please rate us on your podcasting app of choice as it helps the show grow. Oh my gosh, thank you guys so much for the Spotify top podcasts. The Spotify Wrapped was messed up this year. A lot of people were saying how it was generated by AI because they fired all of their employees.
Oh my goodness!
It was so bad, and it wasn't right. But we're gonna pretend like it was right for podcasting because I was in a lot of people's top 5. So I appreciate that so much. Yeah. You can follow us on Instagram at Cosplay Crunch Podcast for latest news and announcements, and on YouTube at the Cosplay Crunch Podcast for the visual format if you want to see all of the beauty from both of us, and on cosplaycrunch.com. Ruby, PurpleSchala, where can we find you online? And do you have any parting words for our listeners?
Okay. Well, these days I am only active on my YouTube channel at PurpleSchala, youtube.purpleschala.com, and where unfortunately I know that you won't find any of my cosplays, and you might find one or two if you look really hard. And one of these, I need to find an archive for all my cosplays, or one day maybe I'll start posting cosplays there. But you know how I am. Like I said before, it's kind of I like to keep that separated. But yeah, so you can also find me on Blue Sky minimally. But,
sick!
I can.
Yeah, I'll follow you. I have I've been on there twice.
Yeah. I mean, I'm so minimally on it. I can't keep up with all this stuff. I can only do YouTube, and so yeah, so yeah. Hit me up on Blue Sky Zach. Just so yeah. That's my Instagram. Is very dead. I haven't logged in a really long time. You can also find me there. All my cosplay shenanigans are Instagram. My Facebook is also active under Cinnabunny. But I haven't posted there in years and years and years. But yeah, but my Tonberry cosplays are there. But I'll send it to you, Zach. I'll save you the trouble of sifting through that mess. So yeah, any parting words? Just thanks for listening to this, me rambling on. This was all super fun for me, and just to talk to Zach again. And Zach is awesome. And you guys should, you guys know that since you follow him already, but I have nothing but the greatest respect for you, Zach. And you're just awesome cosplayer. You're just a great person and just a wonderful, wonderful force in the cosplay community. And I just love that you're still killing it. So
thank you. I appreciate that so much. And I mean it when I say I will resurrect you into the cosplay scene one day, and I will pull on something that you can't resist. So
well, you know that we have not cosplayed together yet.
Which is fucking unacceptable. So
it's true. This could be the one. You could be my Sylvain. You could
bet. All right, until next episode, we will see you all later. Goodbye. The Cosplay Crunch podcast is hosted by Zavage Cosplay, with post-production also by Zavage Cosplay. Original theme music by Katie Fairbanks. Logo and graphic design by Owl and Coffee.